Welcome to Take Two. I am Sal Castaneda, along with my colleague Andre Sr. We are talking, Andre, about the decision by a judge in San Francisco at a court here that said that President Trump stepped outside of his authority by ordering National Guard troops to help with the demonstrations in Los Angeles. It was something of a matter of using National Guard as law enforcement is against, against policy or against the law. As a matter of fact, we have David Levine, who is from the University of California, San Francisco, who's going to clear up some of the details. So what exactly, David, if I could just jump right in here,
Sure, Sal.
Is it against the law? Is it against policy? What did the Trump administration do wrong by using or by deploying National Guard?
Sure. Sal, according to Judge Breyer, basically what they did is they violated a law from the 1870s called the Posse Comitatus Act. And what that, in a nutshell, what that does is that it says military cannot engage in law enforcement. They're not supposed to be police officers domestically. And that line is supposed to be a division between military function and police function. And so in this decision, Judge Breyer, having had a couple-day hearing to find out what actually were the missions of the Marines and the California National Guard, who were federalized by the president in Los Angeles, Judge Breyer found that in too many instances, they were engaged in law enforcement and not in strict military function. And so what the injunction says that Judge Breyer issued today is that the military can protect federal property in the Los Angeles area, but they can't go out on missions with other officers like ICE or the Border Patrol. So it's definitely, according to Judge Breyer, it's a violation of law that occurred. And then, of course, it's going to go up on appeal, so we'll see if the other judges agree. But that's where we are today.
All right, so David, Andre here, I wanted to ask you, so the president has already talked about sending the National Guards to other states as well. If this case goes up for appeal, I mean, I suppose he could still continue to deploy these troops until the appeal process makes its way through the court?
Well, Judge Breyer allowed for a few days anyway to allow time for the administration to appeal to the Ninth Circuit, and then who knows, it may go up to the Supreme Court. Now, legally speaking, let's talk about Chicago, because it seems like Chicago may be the next place. Legally speaking, Judge Breyer's opinion would not have any precedential value in the Northern District of Illinois, where Chicago is located, but let us assume that Governor Pritzker pushes back in the same way that Governor Newsom did. You can bet that this opinion that was issued today will be presented by the Illinois Attorney General to whichever federal judge gets the case to say, look, you ought to do the same thing that Judge Breyer did. So let's say that they're going to say it should be persuasive, even if it is not binding precedent in the Seventh Circuit, where Chicago is located. Only if it gets to the U.S. Supreme Court would it be binding across the country.
So this 19th century law that you mentioned is law of the entire United States, but since it's a patchwork of courts with different regions, for it to become, I guess, the law of the land, you say it has to go up to the Supreme Court, and it would have to rule that this is unconstitutional.
Right, that's right. And the reason for that, Sal, is last year the Supreme Court issued an opinion saying it was not proper under most circumstances for a federal district judge to issue an injunction against the United States across the entire country, except very narrow circumstances. So Judge Breyer, well aware of that, was careful to say this only applies in the Central District of California, which is the Los Angeles area. And he did not say it had nationwide effect. But up until that opinion from a few months ago, judges, both from the liberal side as well as the conservative side, were very often issuing injunctions that had a nationwide impact, but that's not the case now. So Judge Breyer was careful to stay in his lane, to say this just applies to the current deployment in California, particularly in the Central District, and so it's got to go up higher to have wider application. But the law, the Posse Comitatus Act, which was passed, like I said, in the late 19th century, as part of, by the way, the end of Reconstruction. This was to keep federal troops out of the Deep South. so that they wouldn't, say, get in the way of old slave owners being, violating the rights of freed slaves. So it's got a sordid history, but that's where it comes from. So we just have to see where it will go. But yeah, the law applies across the board, but we just haven't had this kind of situation because until President Trump came along, we didn't have this strange situation where the National Guard was called in over the objection of the governor, and not in an extreme situation. We have nothing like a riot going on or something where there's a complete breakdown of civil authority. There were some knuckleheads in Los Angeles who were protesting, but the LAPD, Mayor Bass, Governor Newsom said, we can handle that. That's just a Tuesday in Los Angeles.
I want to get down to the technicality here, and that is the law enforcement angle of this and the National Guard troops carrying out the law enforcement angle of this. Is that why the judge narrowed the scope of what he was saying here in this ruling? Because, I remember even in high school maybe learning that, the reason that that the military doesn't patrol our streets was to keep that separation in place. So, I feel that kids know that if it's still being taught. I'm not really sure. So is as we try to fine tune what the judge's ruling means here, is it specifically geared toward the fact that these National Guard troops were carrying out law enforcement duties?
That's exactly right. And the judge made a lot of findings to say, look, the mission was too broad. And he looked at the orders, basically, and he took testimony regarding what actually happened on several occasions in Los Angeles. And he said that these troops, whether it was the National Guard or the Marines, were crossing that line, exactly the line you just drew, the line between what the military is supposed to do versus law enforcement. And so what Judge Breyer did is he said it's still legitimate, especially because the Ninth Circuit had weighed in when he tried to issue a preliminary injunction. He said it's okay to use these federal assets, specifically the Marines or the National Guard, and there's still a couple hundred down there, to protect federal property. And there's plenty of federal property in Los Angeles. There's courthouses, there's federal agencies all over the place. That's fine. If they want to patrol those buildings, just like, we have federal property in Oakland, we have it in San Francisco, obviously, that would be fine. Judge Breyer did not restrict them from doing that. But going out on patrol with the Border Patrol or with ICE, Judge Breyer's order says don't do that, at least when it becomes effective, which will be a few days from now. And what we don't know is what will happen when, and you can be sure, the administration will appeal to the Ninth Circuit and or the Supreme Court, who may or may not back up Judge Breyer temporarily pending appeal. But so right now, there's no change, but Judge Breyer's order will take effect in a few days. Again, go exactly to the line you drew, the difference between what is legitimate for the military to do and what is proper for domestic law enforcement. And the military, as much as we love them, they're not supposed to be doing domestic law enforcement.
David, because this decision took a while, it's a 52-page decision. Now that Chicago may go the same way, pushing back, is it going to take as long, or do you think this will be a little faster to get a decision because Judge Breyer did a lot of the heavy lifting, so to speak?
You're right, Sal, that probably will help. Now, Judge Breyer, you may remember a couple months ago, Judge Breyer did issue a preliminary injunction very quickly. It was within a matter of days of the beginning of the deployment, before even the Marines had gotten to Los Angeles. The National Guard had been federalized over Governor Newsom's objections, and Judge Breyer issued a preliminary injunction saying, send the Guard out, send them back, return them to Governor Newsom. The Ninth Circuit said that went too far as a preliminary injunction. And now here Judge Breyer is being a little more careful. I expect that, let's assume that if Mr. Trump decides to send National Guard over Governor Pritzker's objections in Illinois and or sends in the Marines or some other part of the military, Governor Pritzker's lawyers will be citing chapter and verse to this opinion. We'll certainly be using it to help advise and persuade whichever district judge in Chicago gets the case. So yeah, I think you're right, to say a lot of the heavy lifting has been done by Judge Breyer, and he's given a path to how the litigation might go forward, whether it's Chicago, Baltimore, Oakland, wherever it may be.
Just wanted to pass along Governor Newsom's statement in regard to this. He said, quote, "No president is a king, not even Trump, and no president can trample on a state's power to protect its people." He also went on to say Trump's attempt to use federal troops as his personal police force is illegal, authoritarian, and must be stopped in every courtroom across this country. That is just part of the statement that the president that Governor Newsom did release today regarding the ruling that just came out. And then Karen Bass, the Los Angeles County, Los Angeles mayor, she said, quote, "The White House tried to invade the second largest city in the country. That's illegal. Los Angeles will not buckle, and we will not break. We will not be divided, and we will not be defeated." That is.
But Judge Breyer, Andre, Judge Breyer said much the same. He said, "This looks like Mr. Trump is trying to organize the National Guard to be his personal police force," and that's, in essence, what is wrong with what the president is trying to do here with the National Guard. So Judge Breyer's words very much echo what the governor and Mayor Bass just said.
All right, David Levine, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your expertise. I'm sure this is not the last time we'll be asking you about this and many other things that have come up during this, during these times. Thank you, David.
Anytime. It's good to see you both again.
Yep.
See you soon.
All right, David.
And Take Two will continue right after a short break. Welcome back to Take Two. I am Sal Castaneda along with Andre Sr. And Andre, we did a story today about the Mediterranean-style diet. I'm pulling it right from a Harvard study. The Mediterranean-style diet may offset a person's genetic risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. The study, published in Nature Medicine, said that those who have the diet, which is rich in vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, low in red and processed meats, showed slower cognitive decline as well as a greater reduction in dementia. Then, so basically it helps you or your family members.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is also genetic, I understand.
Yeah.
But you could give yourself a little bit of a head start here, and they always show, when they show the Mediterranean diet, they always show salmon, because salmon is rich in those good fats. That's probably, I bet to say that's olive oil.
Yep.
These are, you know, these vegetables,
Peppers,
spinach,
yeah.
right? We've all known this leafy green vegetables.
Should also point out that if you have insurance and your check and see if your insurance has a dietitian that you can see, because it's not easy. I mean, not always. It's not always
Really?
there. I'm not really sure. Yeah, but yes, some do. And you know, if you have that really good insurance, and you can see if there's a dietitian that can make you those meal plans.
That dietitian can help you with meal
Exactly,
planning,
and switching to that Mediterranean diet. But it's something that we don't always think about. We think about our insurance as, oh, I got to go to the doctor when something's going to have a cough or a sore throat or something worse.
Right.
But see if your insurance has those things. You may be paying for it already, and they may be able to help you. Maybe
That's the
just
key.
that
Yeah,
one
a lot of
thing.
you have to.
Because you know it's not easy for us to make these changes. But you know, if you can make a phone call and make an appointment and have someone, you know, tell an expert how you eat and what you need to eat, they can do the work for you. I mean, it just takes the pressure of trying to figure it out yourself. And having a professional help you along the way.
Do you find that there's a lot of contradicting information we get about what we should eat in our health? Because
well, the Mediterranean diet, that has stayed steady for many years. I have not seen a contradiction with specifically the Mediterranean diet. Ever since I started, you know, talking about the story years ago, that has remained consistent. Mediterranean diet is indeed a good diet to be on. Now, the other diets that we've talked about, some of these fast fixes, those go in and out of style. But the Mediterranean diet, I have not reported that something you've done in the Mediterranean diet is going to be bad.
Well, and if you traveled to other places like Europe, they do eat a lot less red meat there. They eat a lot more chicken and fish in these other countries, and maybe that's why they call it that. But I also saw something today that's saying that most people don't get enough protein. But you shouldn't get protein, I guess, from red meat or processed meat. You should get it from fish and chicken.
Right.
The thing that always piques my interest is, I don't know if you've ever had anyone you've known, an older person, get dementia, but it's devastating.
Yeah, my grandmother has it.
Yeah, devastating.
It's not easy. It's not, you know, she has good days and bad days where I can talk to her, but you know, it's tough when my mom or my aunt have to take care of her. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, you know, when someone has dementia. So you know, of course, I'm reading this story and I think about her right away, and some of the things that you know, I can do to prevent that type of thing from happening to me.
Right. And do you think that maybe if we were to have a time machine and go back, knowing what we know now, do you think it could have helped your grandmother out?
Well, my grandmother was not a big person that ate out anyway. I think her dementia may not have been linked to specifically because she doesn't. My grandmother cooks. She hated when I would go to a fast food chain. You know, she's old school Jamaican. You know, you eat. You know, we stay home, we cook, and we eat here. We know what we're putting into our food. So
yeah, it could be other
I think
things.
It could be a number of. I mean, I have some ideas, but I don't think food's the issue with her.
Right.
Although, you know, but all, you know, the Mediterranean diet, they say, is linked to reduction in type 2 diabetes as well as Alzheimer's.
Right. And it also helps you, you know, stay a healthy weight.
Yeah.
You know, you're eating all these fast foods and stuff. Yeah. It's interesting
Processed
because
foods.
today we did a story on McDonald's. Yeah. And they're trying to get people back into the drive-thru line.
There's this constant counterbalance. Like the weights keep shifting. You have the fast food companies that are like, I need to get more people in, and they have these beautiful advertisements and these beautiful specials. They're like, well, I'm only going to spend $10. I don't have to go home and prepare anything.
Right.
And so, you know, but that's how we live. We live in this environment where companies can market and sell you these things and tempt you. And the trick is, how strong am I to resist those temptations by stopping by?
Especially if you're by yourself, right? Because when you make
kids and everything, you know,
make
you
a
definitely
meal for everybody.
Yeah, because that's going to be mad expensive. But like me, I'm by myself.
Right.
So you know, it's easy for me to make that decision. which is not always good. So I try to be more purposeful and cook. And I forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer, so I might have to go to fast. The
last question I have to ask you, and I ask myself, pardon me?
Yes, it looks very tasty. That's the Mediterranean diet food, right?
Yeah, that looks great.
Exactly.
So Ken, our director, who we're going to have to work on with the powers that be to get him a microphone. But Ken got these images from the internet. That looks delicious. That, to me, Andre, that looks a lot better than something that I could get through a drive-thru window.
Exactly. It looks awesome.
Right?
It looks awesome.
But when you're cooking for one, let's be honest, sometimes it's just easier. You're tired. You forgot to put the chicken out, as you said. I'm just going to roll through there today, and then, especially if things are cheaper.
Yep. Let's talk about this. This is another story that's been getting a lot of attention lately, isn't it, Sal?
This mural in Oakland was painted in 2006 by an artist who consulted with Native American tribe to, get some of the get some of the images correct. At least he said. But now some of the people who live in the neighborhood say this is offensive to Native Americans. They're depicted as not wearing clothes. And they say, okay, it's time for this mural. It's outdated, just like so many things. I was just thinking about when we had David Levine on, we used to call his school UC Hastings, and then we found out that Hastings was a racist, so now they call it UC College of the Law. So these things do happen. This mural, as we take a wide shot here, is on the street corner of a building. The landlord, by the way, hasn't pushed back. He says, look, we're going to paint this over anyway. But it is a controversy. At least some of the people in that community say it's time for that mural to come down.
It's over on 41st and Piedmont in Oakland, Piedmont Avenue in Oakland. It's been there for 20 years, and now the property management company wants to paint over it. But the artist, some people say it's offensive and not historically accurate. However, the artist in this case says he did consult with a Ohlone historian and got the image as historically accurate.
Right.
So, if you have an Ohlone historian who says, yeah, this is an accurate depiction of what, of this situation, of what this artist was trying to convey, why paint over it?
Right.
So
some people might say, hey, you're trying to literally whitewash history here. Others are saying, no, we just don't need it on our wall, right? And it looks like, 2006. So, maybe the time has come to paint it over. And I'm not sure. I mean, the landlord's already said, Andre, that they wants to paint it over.
Here's one interesting thing here. Teachers have brought their students to the mural to see a visual representation of what they read about in class. So, it's also featured in Things to See in Oakland online and Oakland guidebooks, and is considered a treasure by famed local artists and neighborhood activists. So that's also the part that's causing the controversy behind this. So
I would dare say that the landlord probably wants to avoid controversy, whatever that is, whether it's leaving it up or painting it over. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep watch on that story. We have one more segment to go here on Take Two. We'll be right back after this. It's about money. Get your money. We'll be right back. hanging out with my friend Andre Senior here on Take Two. We get to hang out after the show and talk about the news today. We're going to talk, this last segment, we're going to talk about Lotto. I've discovered that Andre, myself, and also Ken, our director, we like playing Super Lotto because it's only $1.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have a better chance of winning that than you do of.
I mean, okay,
Powerball.
Super Lotto is, I think, 39 million.
Yeah.
And the Mega is 1.5 billion or something, 1.3 billion.
Or the Mega. Oh, you're talking about Mega.
Yeah, so
okay.
obviously there's a big difference in that kind of money. However, I like my chances better in playing the cheaper one because, you know, $2 gets me a quick pick and my numbers.
All right, let's see here.
Yeah.
Let's go through the numbers here. You're just not very likely to. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than winning Powerball. Powerball odds are 1 in 292.2 million.
How often do you play? We asked our viewers, and 58% say they play only when it's big. But don't your chances go down when so many people are playing? I mean,
So here, okay, so the odds are so low that some experts say buying multiple tickets does not significantly increase your chances. For perspective, you have a 1 in 15,000 chance of being struck by lightning in a lifetime.
right. It looks like Junior says 41. Does that mean 41 million?
I don't know.
Probably.
By the way, let's go over some numbers here real quick because we only have a few seconds left here. 70% of big lottery winners go broke, with 44%
That's
spending
shocking.
their entire fortune and filing for bankruptcy within 5 years.
Oh, no.
Yes. So it's not been a path to happiness for many people. Yeah. To be sure.
Wow. All right. Well, that does it for Take Two. You can always contact us on our websites. We continue the news 24/7 on KTVU.com, and we will see you tomorrow right here with Take Two.
Welcome to another week of Hometown Heroes. I'm Keyshawn Ward, and we have a very special guest from the University of Miami, the 1992 Heisman winner, Gino Torretta. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Keyshawn. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me, man. This show's about reflecting on some of the best athletes come out the Bay Area, and why not talk about an all-time great who won an Heisman Trophy, Dave O'Brien Award, the Giant Unitas Award, the list goes on. And you went to Pinole Valley High School.